Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1867A, and today's date is May 14th, 2019, and the title of the episode is Timing is Everything, the Economic Plan Behind the Plan. Brilliant. Now, this is the time of year that most of us have a big old clear out. We get rid of all the stuff that's collected through the winter, hidden away in the back of a cupboard or a file cabinet. There might be a gold mine. Noble Gold can show you how to blow the financial dust off those files, revitalize the dead money, and catapult your retirement savings into orbit. Just for May, to celebrate Memorial Day, they are offering a solid silver Trump 2020 coin and a 10-ounce silver bar for anyone rolling over an IRA or cash deal over $20,000. Talk to the team over at Noble Gold today and call 877-646-5347. Protect your retirement by investing in a gold IRA. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, Trump tweeted out exactly what we thought he was going to tweet out. He wants the Fed to lower rates. But something else very interesting that happened with this tweet, and we'll be talking about that in just a moment. But first, let's look at the trade deal with China. Now, Trump, he is out there and he is saying that we are in a fantastic position and we don't have to worry about the trade deal with China. He tweeted out the following: China buys much less from us than we buy from them, by almost $500 billion. So we are in a fantastic position. Make your product at home in the USA. And there is no tariff. You can only buy from a non-tariff country instead of China. Many companies are leaving China so that they will be more competitive for USA buyers. We are now a much bigger economy than China and have substantially increased in size since the great 2016 election. We are the piggy bank that everyone wants to raid and take advantage of. No more. He continued. Billions of dollars and moving jobs back to the USA where they belong. Other countries are already negotiating with us because they don't want this to happen to them. They must be part of a USA action. This should have been done by our leaders many years ago. Enjoy. He said, I love the position we're in, adding that he expected a very fruitful meeting with Xi at the upcoming G20 summit. Now, Trump is not really worried about the trade deal with China, and I believe there's a plan behind this entire plan because, as we know, the main agenda here is to get rid of the central bank. And yes, the other part of the agenda is to bring back manufacturing, set up bilateral trade agreements, get rid of all these regulations, get rid of the IRS eventually, and we can see that eventually we'll head in that direction. But the mainstream media, they are saying that Trump's failure to negotiate with China is a very bad thing. This is coming out of the South China Morning Post. The administration's Section 301 tariffs and China's retaliatory tariffs will now further disrupt or even break many thousands of supply chains in both countries. Well, this quote by Nelson Dung is stated as if breaking supply chains is a flaw in the approach. It's not. It's exactly the opposite, which is true. This is a feature of the strategic reset, a specific and purposeful feature designed by Trump. China has no choice if they want to retain their economic model. Remember, China's economy is deep manufacturing, but also narrow. They are dependent on raw materials, customers, and market access. Trump announced that he has not made any decision on the next phase of the 25% tariffs on the remaining $350 billion in Chinese products. He doesn't need to. Merely the possibility of additional tariffs will pause any further investment, and some companies not currently impacted will make decisions to avoid the possibility of impact. Trump has walked Chairman Xi into the corner. Now, Trump and Xi, they are on a friendly basis, and they like speaking with each other. I believe they both think that each other have great ideas. But you have to remember, Xi is the leader of China, Trump is the leader of the U.S. I do believe they're still working together to get rid of their common enemy, and that is the central bank system. But they're going to do everything they have to in the best interest for their own country. And Trump, he is making sure that he is doing everything in the best interest for this country. Now remember, he flew around and he made different deals with different countries throughout Asia. He did this on purpose. He needed a backup plan. And we know that China, they cannot sustain a long-term economic conflict with the U.S. The U.S. purchases their goods from China. If the U.S. decides to go to South Korea, Vietnam, Philippines, India, and they say, you know what, we're not going to buy from China anymore, what happens to China? Well, their GDP suffers. They know this. Right now, with the Federal Reserve's help, we control where we're going to purchase. Now, is this going to be forever? No. But we also know that companies, because of the tariffs and everything else, they are going to maybe think twice and maybe say, oh, you know what? I see what's happening here. Let's move someplace else. This is coming out of the LA Times. GoPro Inc. will move most of its U.S.-bound camera production out of China by summer, becoming one of the first brand-name electronic makers to take such action to minimize the impact of the U.S.-China trade wars. So what we're watching right now is Trump strategically maneuvering around China to force them into doing what he wants. And he has a backup plan. Now, this doesn't mean that Xi and Trump are not on the same page, because I believe what they're both doing right now is that they're working on a plan to bring down the central bank and to push this system to the edge. Very interestingly, the Chinese chief negotiator, Vice Premier Liu, he was stripped of his title after negotiating with Trump. Now, this is very interesting. Remember, in each country, there are certain individuals that are not working in the best interests of their countries. There's deep state operatives all over the place. I mean, think about the United States. Think about what Trump has had to go up against. Think about Xi. Do you think there's not others within his government that are working against him? Of course there are. Now, Trump tweeted out something very interesting. He said, when the time is right, we will make a deal with China. My respect and friendship with President Xi is unlimited, but as if I told him many times before, this must be a great deal for the United States, or it just doesn't make any sense. We have to be allowed to make up some of the tremendous ground we have lost to China on trade since the ridiculous one-sided formation of the WTO. It will all happen, and much faster than people think. Now think about this. The globalists were creating a system that they wanted. Trump now is removing everything the globalists were doing. Now remember, China was being set up to work in the globalist system. Trump now is reversing this. China is pushing their Belt and Road system, which is completely separate from the globalist system. Remember, the globalist system wanted TPP. China was not signing on to that. And what we're seeing here is that Xi and Trump, they're working on something completely different. And from his next tweet, we start to kind of make sense of a plan within a plan. He said China will be pumping money into their system and probably reducing interest rates, as always, in order to make up for the business they are and will be losing. If the Federal Reserve ever did a match, it would be game over. We win. In any event, China wants a deal. He's using China as the weapon to force the Fed into lowering rates. Now, is Xi going to devalue the yuan? Is Xi going to lower the interest rates? Yes, I believe they're already doing this. Trump is going to use this to his advantage. Do I think this was a coincidence that this happened? Do I think that it was a coincidence that there was no deal? No, I think this was completely planned out. I think he wanted, I'm talking about Trump, wanted the response from China to devalue. And I believe Xi and Trump worked on this to get the Fed to go along with the plan of cutting rates. Because if the Fed cuts rates, it's going to benefit the United States. It will also benefit China, because once the deal is made, guess what? They're both going to benefit. Who does it hurt? It hurts the central bank system. So Trump is using the central bank weapons against them. He wants to push the system to the edge. He wants to use the free money to rebuild the infrastructure, to make America great again, to make the deals around the world, and to get the Fed to lower rates, push stimulus, and keep this going until after the 2020 election. Because when the Fed lowers the rates, when the Fed pushes stimulus, what happens to the economy? We know it's an illusion, but what happens? Well, the economy goes into overdrive. We've seen it before. The stock market goes up. Interest rates go down. People get into the real estate market. People get into automobiles, student loans, credit cards, all these things. It makes it a little bit easier for everyday people. Now, does it help with the savings? No. Trump realizes eventually what's going to happen is that this system is going to self-implode on itself. The central bank system is not sustainable. China realizes that this system is not sustainable. Remember, China has been purchasing a huge amount of gold. And we're told by Q that the United States is going to use gold to bring down the Federal Reserve System. So from that statement, somewhere it seems that the U.S. must have gold, or they've recaptured the gold that was stolen out of Fort Knox. Remember, they know everything. They see everything. They know what the deep state, the central bankers have been doing over the last many, many years. And as you can see, it's not that difficult to figure out. They've been capturing all communications. They know what is going on. And maybe they have found where this gold is. I mean, it just doesn't disappear. They have to put it someplace. And we're getting word from my good friend Jim Willey, which I just interviewed him, that he has information that, yes, gold has been taken back from the deep state. So when you look at this, there's a plan within a plan. Yes, to the outside individual looking at this, it looks like nothing is going right. The mainstream media, the deep state, they're saying, oh, no trade deal. This is going to be horrible. The consumers are going to have to pay. But just wait and see what happens, because you could see Trump is using this to his advantage. It's almost like the Karate Kid. Everyone looks at the kid. He's waxing the car, painting the house. He's not learning how to fight whatsoever. Well, yes, on the surface, you can't see it. But he has learned how to defend himself. Trump, on the surface, might look like nothing's happening, but behind the scenes, we can see from when he tweets out and from what he does that he has different plans than what the mainstream media, what the deep state thinks he is doing. It's a plan within a plan. It's almost like going after those individuals that are treasonous. It's the same exact thing. And it might not seem like anything is being done, but behind the scenes, a lot is being done. And get ready, get prepared, because it looks like we're heading into this transition where we'll be moving away from a central bank system into a people's system. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.